At the airport, getting ready for our honeymoon, I pulled out the ticket holder from my bag, following my husband's instructions. That's when it happened. My husband snatched the plane ticket from my hand and threw these words at me. "You're not worth it. I should have gone with someone else." He then ran towards another woman. Watching him, a secret smile crept onto my lips, and I took out my phone. "Well, time to go," I planned. "My name is Michelle Anderson. Ever since I graduated from college, I've been working at a trading company in New York. Now 30 years old, my husband, of the same age, J. John, is a journalist registered with a publishing house. We met in the same college seminar. Back then, I wasn't particularly ambitious about my future job. But John, with his dreams, pursuing job opportunities, seemed radiant. He always said he wanted to be a reporter, chasing stories for newspapers or magazines. He definitely had a spark in him. Seeing each other often in the same seminar, our conversations grew more frequent over the course of 2 years. By the time graduation approached, I didn't want to part ways. So under his proactive approach, we started dating. We lived together for 3 years after graduation. Then, at 27, we made it official. However, we didn't have a wedding ceremony, reception, or even a honeymoon. Both our parents weren't thrilled about it. But while it was easy for me to get extended time off, John, who always prioritized his work, especially during incidents, couldn't do the same. What about life's milestones? What if something happens to one of your family members all of a sudden? I would say, "Would you say the same even when I said that? What are you talking about? Funerals are one thing, but weddings are a matter of personal choice." "The stories I'm chasing right now can't wait," he replied. I couldn't argue with that. After all, John's job was relentless. Around the clock, I remember how ecstatic he was the year before we got married, as he finally got assigned to the editorial department of the weekly magazine he'd always wanted to work for. Now he's busier than ever, working day and night. Well, not just now. Even before we lived together, his apartment was a mess, only coming home to sleep. One of the reasons we started living together was that I got tired of cleaning up his place every weekend. I was the one who chose and signed the lease for our new apartment. Except for sharing his preferences for location, rent, and size, he didn't do much else. We split the rent and living expenses. He sometimes forgot to pitch in. I took care of the cleaning and laundry. Even though we lived together, we rarely saw each other. The main reason for our official union was my desire to hold on to him, even if it was just a formality. For John, perhaps a wedding ceremony seemed unnecessary. But for me, even if it was just symbolic, I wanted a commemoration, a milestone at the very least. I suggested we should take some photos and go on a short honeymoon nearby. But all I got in return was, "Why? Just take pictures. If you want to go on a trip, why not go with your friends?" Many of my college friends who were in the same seminar would say, "That's not right." But those who knew about his job often replied, "It can't be helped." 3 years have passed. We're now 30. Even though I want to discuss having children, John and I often have opposite schedules, making it hard to find the right moment. All I do is rush between work and household chores every day. I started wondering, why did we even get married? But then one day, John said this out of the blue. "Hey, Michelle, didn't you mention wanting to go on a honeymoon before?" "Yeah, but aren't you too busy?" "Nah, looks like I might get some decent time off." "We can go if you want." "Really?" "I'll set the duration. You choose the rest." His tone did bother me, but I still noted down the dates he mentioned. A week's time. And it's going to be summer, so I thought maybe a cooler place would be good. so I considered going to Alaska. I went to the bookstore, picked up a few travel guides, marked places I wanted to visit, and showed them to John. "Hey, can you look at this? I want to go there." Before I could ask him where he wanted to go, he dismissed me with a wave of his hand. You choose. I'm fine with anything." Oh, okay. Something felt off to me then. Maybe it's unfair to expect much from John with his busy daily life. But this is supposed to be our honeymoon, our very first milestone. I wanted to discuss and decide the destinations with him. Is it wrong for me to hope for that even though we've lived together for years? Our lives barely intersect. When was the last time we had a meal together? I realized that we hardly ever spoke to each other. Even when I initiate a conversation, he often responds with phrases like, "Do whatever you want, and I might let you handle it if you insist." Come to think of it, that's how he's been about chores as well. I remember John back in college saying something like this to everyone. In today's age, couples should both earn an equal share of household chores. Splitting chores is just fair. Are you sure you can handle that? I was quite impressed at the time. He wasn't wrong. Although he mostly eats out, occasionally he seems to cook for himself. I'd often find dishes I didn't use in the sink, but all other chores are on me. I always end up cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, taking out the trash. Everything. Now, John rarely comes home at the same time I do. Once in a blue moon, we get to have dinner together, and it's a relief. But even then, he's constantly glancing at his phone on the table. Once dinner's over, he quickly moves to the living room, seemingly messaging someone on social media. All the while, I'm busy cleaning up. One day, slightly irritated by his indifference, I commented, "You seem awfully busy texting." "Well, unlike you, I have work contacts to keep up with." He probably wasn't wrong. By the way, he often leaves his smartphone unattended, like when he's taking a bath or napping on the living room couch. It was by pure chance that I peeked into it. He was messaging a woman. Who is this person? At that moment, I shoved my smartphone screen in front of a groggy, just awakened John. The name on the screen read Anna Johnson. Multiple messages from John's side lined up, reading things like, "Have you been? And you okay? Since then, who? Oh, she's related to the case I'm currently working on. Is there a problem? You're texting someone related to the case every single day. Well, if I have questions, I've got to show some sincerity, right? But doesn't she seem annoyed by it? You have a problem with how I do my job." I couldn't really argue when he brought up work. "But decide soon where we're going. I might not be back until the last minute because of the case. I'm investigating packing our bags. Will you?" Yes, that had just happened recently, and finally, the day of our trip arrived. John, who said he might not make it home in time, surprisingly woke up early and in high spirits. "Then I'm going to make breakfast," he said, placing a plate of toast, bacon, eggs, and a salad in front of me. I became suspicious when he also set down a pot of coffee, as it was so unlike him. What's with that look? When I decide to do something, I do it. Sure, it was just store-bought potato salad, undercooked bacon, and instant soup, but there was no need to make it seem so special. I kept those thoughts to myself and quietly ate. "Here, your luggage." "Thanks, it looks like you packed it well. Aren't you going to check inside?" "I'll check later, if you say so." We headed straight for the airport. By the way, our destination written on the tickets was Alaska. We had plans to travel around different parts of the state. We took the tram to the domestic terminal and headed for the boarding gate. As we were approaching, John suddenly stopped in his tracks. "Hey, have your boarding pass ready. I can get it out quickly." As I began to pull out the ticket holder, he snatched the tickets from me, saying, "What a waste to travel with you. I should go with someone else." With that, he ran towards the boarding gate. There was a woman standing ahead. "That's Anna Johnson." He had a picture on his smartphone. "That's definitely her." I caught a glimpse of that smirking discreetly and took out my own smartphone. "Well, shall we head out as planned?" A few hours later, I was at the terminal building of an airport in Alaska, headed straight for the domestic exit, right up to the famous pastry shop in the desert corner on the second floor. I knew John and Anna were at the Eton space there. I confidently walked in and approached the two of them, who were enjoying an airport-exclusive sundae. "Found you." John, who had been gazing dreamily at Anna, suddenly paled, a bit of ice cream still on the corner of his mouth, looking at me as if he'd seen a ghost. "Wait, why are you here, Michelle?" Anna jumped up and threw herself at me. "Michelle, I've been so scared." I gently rubbed her trembling back while giving John a stern look. "What do you mean? Why am I here?" "Do you know how many flights from different airlines land there?" "I just took the earliest one." "Are you really a journalist, not even knowing something so basic?" "Ah, exactly. How can you not even realize that, John? What kind of journalist are you?" From behind me, a deep male voice slowly approached, making John look even more tense. Why is the editor here?" "Let's not make a scene here. Let's step outside." The man called the editor was Mr. Long, the chief editor of my husband's department. When we got married, he and his wife had invited us to dinner as a celebration. At that time, we exchanged numbers, just in case. As the charismatic Mr. Long grabbed his arm, John shivered. Anna, walking beside me, intertwined her arm with mine, while John looked on, completely baffled. Every time he tried to get closer to Anna, Mr. Long would firmly hold back John's hand. We pretended not to notice as John clicked his tongue in annoyance. "It's less crowded over here." We headed towards a special room on the third floor we had reserved earlier. A man already inside stood up and waved at us. "Hey, over here." John's expression turned to shock, and he stopped in his tracks. "Come on, why are you stopping?" "Wait, Michelle, why is my dad there?" "Well, you left me behind, so I just invited everyone." "Why not make it a family trip?" "That's right, it's your fault for thinking you could go on a honeymoon with another woman." Mr. Long started dragging John. "It's okay," I whispered to Anna, and she nodded. "Sorry for the wait, mother and father-in-law. We've managed to capture John." Capture. Exactly. A man who thinks of going on a honeymoon with another woman should be captured, shouldn't he? Even you, Mom, and you used Michelle's money for all this, didn't you, father-in-law? Yes, it wasn't just the in-laws. My parents were there too, and another man in a suit with glasses. So, is this the young lady in question? Who are you? Sorry for the late introduction. I am. He handed a business card to John. A lawyer. Why? In fact, I received a request from both Michelle and Anna here. John said Michelle did. Wait, more importantly, Anna, why on earth? John reached out to her as he said this. However, his hand missed, as Anna dodged it. Stop it, Anna. I'm sorry. Anna, I managed to get her out here with your help, but it seems that was my limit. No, I'm sorry. If this settles everything. Settles? What are you talking about? You've been following Anna around for a while, haven't you? You're saying I've been stalking her. Is that not the case? It's not. I spoke to Anna about the incident that happened the other day. So after that was over, you kept in touch, even though the article was done. For stories like this, you're supposed to keep in touch with the people involved. Mr. Long slapped John on the head from above. I apologize, Miss Johnson. I told him not to publish any more articles about the incident you were involved in. Yes, I thought so. Look at the messages this man has been sending me. The lawyer handed out printouts of the messages to everyone. What is this? Thank you for your cooperation. Would you like to grab dinner sometime? And you kept inviting her long after she declined. I mean, it's just common courtesy. I was drawn to your brave attitude. What's this about? She truly was brave, despite the incident. She tried so hard to recover. John's father-in-law boomed. What on earth are you saying, drawn to her? Miss Johnson, I won't ask about what happened, but I know you were hurt. Yet it seems this fool kept reminding you of it when you were trying to forget. Anna nodded with tears in her eyes. I only cooperated because he promised to write properly about the incident. Yet he kept coming up with reasons to ask me out afterward, and the volume of messages too, and he knows where I live. That's right. There's also this. The lawyer handed out several pictures. They showed John with a camera next to a window of a 2-story apartment complex. It's the apartment I live in. You were up to this? Hearing that, Anna shivered again. I've made up my mind. I'm going to report him for stalking. What are you talking about? Anna began to speak as if a dam had broken. Every single day, he asks. What are you doing? Can we meet tomorrow? Even though he's heard about the incident, he persists even after I tell him there's nothing more to discuss. But you replied to my texts, didn't you? Who do you think is enjoying this conversation? Exactly. Thanks for today. How have you been? Yeah. You know what's good when you're tired? A massage. I'll come over and give you one sometime. I'm busy now. Stuff like that. And what's with the creepy "are you in the bath" messages? I chuckled as I flipped through the thick printout. Yes, I really appreciate everything Michelle did. She advised me to keep records of everything. Oh, come on. It must have been scary, right? To deal with someone spouting nonsense like that. It was terrifying. Anna shivered. How could you think from those messages that I was into you? It was just plain creepy. But about our trip, it was a final blow for you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered with this terrifying plan. Terrifying plan? You still don't get it. I sighed deeply. That was my name on it, right? He probably realized it was about the airline ticket. Oh, right, it was. What about it? Mr. Long spoke in a hushed tone. You know, if that's found, it's a crime. Exactly. And if someone gets caught, it won't be you. It's her, he gasped. He truly seemed unaware. Mr. Long put his head in his hands. I can't believe how stupid my subordinate has been. You too, shut up. You're going to use this to fly to the Philippines with that. Mr. Long shoved the ticket in John's face. What? Why? There are various matters to investigate over there. Now, you can refuse if you want, but if you do, Mr. Long turned to Anna. Yes, if you decide to stay in the country, I'll report you to the police for stalking. I get it, but I don't have my luggage. My passport? The passport. Here it was my turn to hand it over to him. Oh, right. There's something important. Sign this before you go. I handed him the divorce papers with my signature. Divorce papers? Are you abandoning me too? Oh, what are you saying to the wife who went to such lengths to prevent you from getting a criminal record? I'm the one who runs our home. I laughed dramatically. but then I changed my expression. Do you have any idea how much of a proper married life we had in that house? We hardly ever saw each other, both working full-time, and yet all the housework falls on me. Plus, you haven't been contributing to our shared living expenses or rent recently. Really, I get paid just fine for my job. I know. I've looked into what you've been spending it on, like those high-end cameras at this apartment. Just sign it. Seeing my fury, his face turned pale as a ghost. He shakily signed the papers and handed them back. All right. The rest is up to you. Sorry for everything, said Mr. Long as he escorted John towards the international flight counter. We chose to settle on the 3rd floor instead of the spacious lounge on the 2nd floor. Why? Because the 3rd floor of this airport is where the international terminal is located. The plan was to easily get him on a flight to Manila. As for what happens to him next, that's none of our business. After that, I moved from the condo I had been living in to a small apartment meant for living alone. The number of rooms has decreased, and there's nothing unrelated to me. No more buying groceries for someone who I don't know when they'll be back. How easy house chores are when it's just for myself. I realized just how much unnecessary struggle I've been through while living with John. The moving expenses were covered by my father-in-law. He also settled the living expenses and rent John forgot to pay. My in-laws, lamenting that they raised their son wrong, were such kind folks. About a month later, I got a call from Mr. Long. Apparently, John got caught up in some trouble overseas and got arrested. Was it some kind of crime? I really don't know. Our editorial department didn't ask him to get involved in any crimes or anything, just told him to send daily updates on the situation over there. Well, I've heard various stories, like he got deceived or got addicted to gambling. I told him if he could get a big scoop, we might let him return. Seems like John got too ambitious and ruined himself. Mr. Long indirectly implied to me. Since then, I haven't heard any rumors of him coming back. Michelle, over here, at the cafe we had arranged to meet. Anna signaled me. I quickly approached her table. Sorry for the wait. All set. Absolutely. How about you, Michelle? I showed her the fan merchandise for the concert we were going to. We shared a cheerful smile, had a quick coffee, and then headed for the venue. During the time I was communicating about John's issue, I found out that Anna and I were fans of the same musician, and we hit it off. We had promised to attend a concert together once everything was settled. Today was the long-awaited day. After getting married, I had forgotten such joys amidst the conflicting schedules with John. Now I can spend time just for myself with friends sharing the same hobby. Oh, I'm truly glad I made that decision back then.